Welcome back, everybody. Ranked play resumes as of the time you're watching this video. And what I want to do is go over the entire meta, give my complete guide to it, show you what the top meta decks are, why they're being played specifically, how are their matchups into the rest of the meta, what are the off-meta decks that you might want to play in case you don't want to play another season of Suicune. I'm going to give you a video that hopefully helps you reach your goal of either getting as many points as possible, getting to Master Ball with something that is fun and you enjoy. So I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video. Let's get into it. So the first thing I want to do very quickly is talk about Crimson Blaze as a set. Mega Rising, huge set, introduced a lot of new cards. Crimson Blaze did not introduce a whole lot of new good cards into the meta. Some cards that we'll look at. Mega Venusaur, definitely a bit meta prevalent. Mega Charizard Y as well. Blastoise is a no-go. Magnemite and this new Magnezone have been absolutely huge. It is just a strict buff over the old Magnezone, so if you're looking to play a Magnezone deck, we are playing the new one, as well as this new Magnemite. Hits for 30 for 1 energy, which is actually very relevant, as well as the 50 HP. You can go search it out with Licia. Reuniclus was a funny deck in the beginning of the meta. Nobody touches it anymore. Same with Mega Lopunny. It has its times, but overall, not a very strong card. Mega Steelix, again, not a very strong card. For the most part, a lot of these trainers did not really pan out either. Serena, you see in basically no decks. Clement lets you search your deck for 2 Magnetons, so it has been very strong in these Magnezone decks. Quick Row Extract has been good in Grass-type decks. Really, the only ones we're seeing are Venusaur and Decidueye, and Clement's Backpack never sees play in really any deck. So that's just a quick overview. Those are really the only cards to consider. Everything else in the set was sort of a flop. So because the meta hasn't really changed all that much, Suicune is still the top deck. It was the best deck of Mega Rising. It is still the best deck in Crimson Blaze. Why is that? Suicune Greninja pretty consistently has at least a 50%, usually slightly favored matchup into every other big meta deck in the format. That is why this deck is played so much. It's not because it overwhelmingly beats the meta. It is because it has the best matchup spread out of everything. The only changes you need to know about going into this new meta is people are not playing the double Greninja EX as much. We are back onto the double baby Greninja. Typically has a Frogadier. This list is somewhat unique. Typically, there will be 1 Frogadier in here. Not a bad idea. There might be 1 Cyrus. And instead of the Cyrus, there might be like a May in the list. Like, cards to really consider are having double Cyrus, having double Irida, having a May in there somewhere, having double Giant Cape. Those are sort of where the debates are happening. Do you play Frogadier? Do you value double Cyrus or double Irida more? Do you value double Cape or double Cyrus or double Irida more? That's where all of the debate is coming from. I'll tell you, I'm not much of a Suicune player. I played the deck enough, man. I lived through Secluded Springs. I'm done with the deck. I don't need to touch it anymore. I've gotten all the Suicune I could ever want out of my bloodstream, out of my bones. I don't know. I'm not playing Suicune anymore, but it is still very, very strong. It is like the most consistent thing to gain points, but there are answers to it in this current meta, and we will get into that later on in the video. So next, we've got to talk about the next big bad deck of the format, and that is Mega Altaria in general. So Mega Altaria is a very splashable archetype. There are a lot of different ways to play it. In the beginning, we saw a lot of people on the Greninja variant. We still see a lot of the Greninja variant. And the reason for that is, if you take a look at Mega Altaria's matchups, has fairly good matchups. It's going to struggle against something like Magnezone. It just doesn't have the best ways to deal with Oricorio decks. But into the rest of the meta, it's pretty good. And this version of Altaria, like a problem with Altaria Chingling or Altaria Indeedee, you know, with the Chinglings and the Jirachis, the problem with that deck is that never had a good Suicune matchup, ever. That deck with Chingling and Jirachi and Indeedee comes in at like a 30% win percentage against Suicune. So if you're afraid of Suicune, that's not the Altaria variant to play. I think it's fallen off in popularity because of that. You're going to see a lot of Suicune in ranked. Like, probably more than any tournament. A lot of people are going to be playing it. So please do not play a deck that loses to Suicune. This version has about like a 45% win percentage into Suicune. Not bad. Compared to 30%, not bad. 45% is totally winnable. Yes, you're like slightly disadvantaged, but it is not terrible. this list is pretty ironed out. This is kind of what you see basically every single Mega Altaria Greninja deck playing. Double Copycat, you got to get those Greninjas out. Double Chingling, the double Altaria line. This is sort of it. Your only answer to Oricorio is really Greninja pings, and that doesn't do a whole lot of good, or Cyrus around the Oricorios, but against a Magnezone deck, it's pretty tricky because there's going to be 2 Oricorios to get through and only 2 potential Magnezones to snag some easy points off of. This is Greninja Altaria. Great into Mega Absol Hydreigon. The Mega Altaria Indeedee variant does not love to play against this. Fine in a Mega Blaziken, 50%. Mega Absol Darkrai, that Mega Absol Darkrai, they also play Greninja and Chingling. In my experience, not a good matchup for this deck. I've played a lot of Mega Absol Darkrai Greninja. This deck really struggles into that one, but that deck has sort of fallen off. Mega Charizard Y, about a 50%. And good into Decidueye and Venusaur. Venusaur has a really tough time, and Decidueye, at the aggressive 130 damage that Mega Altaria can put out fast, especially when coupled with early item lock from Chingling. Now, the tournament results, the data, is a little bit hard to distinguish. I'm talking from personal experience for decks like this as well, because a lot of these decks just start to get meshed together with these Altaria variants, but I can tell you, this deck has a much better time in a Suicune than Altaria Indeedee. I personally would not be playing this version of the deck for ranked. I would choose either this Greninja variant or this new up-and-coming Altaria variant that has been having a lot of success at tournaments. That is Mega Altaria Giratina Indeedee. There's a lot of damage modifiers in here to try to help you get to the one-shot against Suicune. You have the Giovanni, you have the double Rocky Helmet. If they attack into a Mega Altaria with a Rocky Helmet on, it does not matter if they're playing a Giant Cape. Well, if they're not playing a Giant Cape, you can knock it out. If they are playing a Giant Cape, you can use Giovanni and take that knockout even still. Same with the Giratina, because we're also doing 130 damage. This deck has been doing very, very well in tournaments. This could very well become the new way to play Mega Altaria. So if you're looking for a way to switch it up, this reminds me a lot. This is honestly, this is not a new deck. This was an idea for Mega Altaria at the very start of Mega Rising. It got pushed out, and now it's come back and is doing better than it ever has before. So I'm not exactly sure what we've changed about it to make it do that, but it is performing much better than it ever has. So this is like the newer, fun version of how to play Altaria. There's also, I'll pull it up right now, this new Mega Altaria Silvally variant. I am a bit wary of it. I've played a lot of Mega Altaria in my days. One of the biggest things that Mega Altaria has a problem with is energy optimization. However, I'm trying to say it fancy. You don't have a lot of energy to go around, man. You need 2 energy for the Altaria. You need 2 energy for the Silvally. You see, you might end up not having enough energy attachments to do what you need to do. I've had games where I'm struggling trying to make use of the Jirachi, and that's a 1 energy attacker, man. So it can be a little bit tough if you're playing something that is aggressive enough to knock out the Silvally quickly, because if you go aggressive with the Silvally, put 2 energy on him, it gets return knocked out, and then you have no energy on the Mega Altaria, you might just lose that game. It's really, really tough, especially in a meta that is so aggressive. So it does have the stats. It does have the stats. It's been doing pretty well in tournaments. It had like a good showcasing. It is definitely not as popular as this Giratina version is now. It is like nowhere near. It had like a little blip on the radar, so even in tournament play, it's not really proving itself to be the best way to play Altaria, but it's another like fun version of Altaria for you to try if you don't want to try the 2 versions that you might have already played before. You know, you got the Giratina version, or you have the Silvally version as a new, refreshing way to play Altaria. Now, this is probably the 3rd most popular deck you're going to run into on Ranked, and it's Hydreigon with Mega Absol. Now, I don't think that this deck is in the most fantastic spot, but it still reigns true. A high roll Hydreigon can beat like anything in the meta. If you're going 130 on your second turn, really hard for anything in the world to deal with. That's kind of like the whole point of playing it, because if you look at the data for it, against Suicune Greninja, it's got a 43% win percentage. Not the worst, not the best. I know I've played games against it as a Suicune player, or I've played games, sorry, as Hydreigon against Suicune and just gone, dude, how do you ever win this without just going like Rare Candy Hydreigon instantly and them not having a good follow-up to it? The matchup can be a little bit tough if you don't get up and going really fast. It doesn't have a great matchup into like Mega Altaria Greninja, because once they have that Greninja online, they will be able to knock out your Hydreigons, not have to worry about two-shotting it. Mega Altaria and is about a 52% win percentage, not the worst. Magnezone is still very good for this deck, 61%. Mega Venusaur, slightly unfavored, 44%. I mean, it really just depends. Can you get the Hydreigon out before they have a Mega Venusaur in the active spot? If you can, you win. If you don't, you lose. That's as simply as it goes. And the rest of the meta is like pretty 50-50 for it. It doesn't really have any fantastic matchups out there. It is sort of just the, hey man, if we're high rolling, like we're winning. And that feels good to play. So if you're still on that, if you like doing that in Mega Rising, this is still a fine pick for you to go for. It's done very well in tournaments over the course of this entire season. I don't expect that to change. Still a very strong deck. Now let's have some fun. Let's talk about some grass counter meta decks. Both of these guys exist because they have a really good matchup into Suicune, okay? Mega Venusaur, you get the guy set up, 120 damage for 4 energy. Ivysaur is going to let you power that up. This deck completely relies on getting Ivysaur out as soon as possible, using Synthesis, holding on for a turn, and evolving into Mega Venusaur, and just heal, win the game. That's how this deck functions. That is the only way this deck wins. Now, with Mega Venusaur, there are actually a lot of ways to play it. Sort of. There are cards here that are always different in these lists. I think what it comes down to is, did you get your Ivysaur out fast enough? And all these other cards, like, yes, they matter for sure, but the biggest thing is, does Ivysaur hit the board, you Synthesis on your second turn, and then you get into Mega Venusaur? That's like the biggest thing about the deck. That's all, like, that is the primary goal of it. Everything else is just extra on top. You can't win the game if you don't use Synthesis and survive. So, some other ways to play it. Only one Bulbasaur. Take out a Bulbasaur. Just use the 1 and the 2 Ivysaurs and the 2 Mega Venusaurs with the 2 Quick Grow Extract. The thought process is, if my Ivysaur is going to get knocked out by my opponent, I don't have a need for a second Bulbasaur. I'm never setting up 2 Mega Venusaur. It's not happening. It's almost impossible. And if my first Ivysaur gets knocked out, the second Ivysaur will get knocked out as well. So what good does having 2 Bulbasaur ever really do for me, besides being a dead card that could be something more useful? You could play something like Rocky Helmet to make the Mega Venusaur effectively do more damage. But usually I don't see Leaf Cape. It's Heavy Helmet or Rocky Helmet between the two. You can play cards like Repel in here as well, like a Sabrina, a Repel, to try to slow your opponent down as much as possible. I do like the double Erica over 2 Lily, 1 Erica, because there are games where your Ivysaur will just take a little bit of chip damage, or your Bulbasaur will take a little bit of chip damage. And if you don't have an Erica, it will get knocked out the next turn. So I prefer to play double Erica in my list because of that. Something to consider. The 10 extra damage on my Mega Venusaur, I don't care, man. What I'm trying to do is make sure that the Mega Venusaur hits the board. That is the primary goal of the deck. So I run the double Erica to just try to make that a little bit more likely. And I do like the disruption cards in here to slow my opponent down, so I have a better chance at getting this Mega Venusaur online. Those are really the only differences between it. We're not playing anything else with these Mega Venusaur lists. You don't. Lilligant sucks. Oricorio version sucks. The reason for that, this is also like a bit of a high roll deck, and you kind of ask your opponent to low roll as well. Imagine you're playing Lilligant and you start the Petalil going first, and now you don't have a way to retreat the Petalil into the Ivysaur on your next turn and use Synthesis. You've given your opponent +1 turns to take that knockout on the Ivysaur. Very bad, not worth 4 deck slots and giving Mega Venusaur 20 plus HP. It's just not worth it. The next grass counter deck is Decidueye. Another deck where there are many ways to play it. And I'll tell you, this list right here, not my preferred way to play it. If I was playing Decidueye, I would take out double Chingling, get that out of here. I would add in double Lily. Double Lily sounds good. The Dark Tricks like surviving, or the Rowlet surviving, isn't as big of a deal. I saw a really cool list this weekend that won a tournament, or last week, that played double Rocky Helmet instead of any of these HP buffing things to just boost the damage a little bit. And I kind of like that, man. Decidueye wasn't working before, in my opinion. It needed some sort of change. I like the double Rocky Helmet more. I don't like the Chingling. Take the Chinglings out and get rid of 1 Pokeball. Then you only have 2 Rowlet and 1 Pokeball. More deck slots to go around. Double Copycat, very good. Double Research, obviously, very good. And the double Rocky Helmet seems very, very cool. Oh, yeah, and also play 2 Decidueye EX and 2 Decidueye. Another card to consider is the Quick Grow Extract. I wouldn't play 2, I'd play 1. But I like this 2-1-2-2 line of the Decidueye going forward. Now, why do you play these decks? Again, they beat Suicune a lot of the time. These decks are now doing good because Suicune took out the second Greninja EX. That was the problem for Decidueye, Decidueye was always good into Suicune. Suicune got Greninja EX, and then they started playing 2 of them, and it became really hard to deal with, because now your whole idea is that you're limiting your bench, you're keeping that damage low. But if they have 170 HP Greninja EX, number 1, it's gonna live 2 attacks with Decidueye if they have a giant cape on it. And number 2, it's gonna do 100 damage every single time, no matter what your bench looks like. So now that they are off of the double Greninja EX, just playing 1 Greninja EX, 2 Baby Greninja, Decidueye has a much, much better chance into it. Same as Venusaur. Venusaur, it's 100 damage guaranteed, and the Greninja can retreat their Pokemon for free even if they're asleep. So that's very, very bad for it. Now, how do the decks do into the rest of the meta? Well, to be honest, not good. Really not so good. Pretty much every other matchup is pretty abysmal, like just like really, really bad. Decidueye let's see, it picks up a good matchup against like Darkrai Magnezone. No one's really playing that anymore. Mega Venusaur does have a slightly favored matchup against Hydreigon, so that is nice. But I do feel like it's been slightly less consistent than Decidueye has, because you need the Ivysaur like instantly, or else the game goes bad for you. So that's why you're playing Decidueye. You are playing Decidueye or Venusaur to counter Suicune. It's a lot like Guzzlord during Secluded Springs. If you hate Suicune, man, and you want to have some fun with these big grass EXs, these are the ways to do it. They are probably the best counter decks to Suicune at the moment. So if you're seeing a ton of them, pick one of these 2 decks. Next, I'll talk about Blaziken. I've got some viewers who are true believers in Blaziken, and I must say, it's been doing better in tournaments. Another high roll deck, right? It's a stage 2 aggressive mega Pokemon. It's a high roll deck, man, for sure. The benefit of this new set is you have this Furfrou card. Furfrou has the ability that it takes minus 20 damage from attacks. Furfrou is, with a Rocky Helmet on it, is pretty good into Oricorio. Oricorio has to 3-shot this thing while you're doing 30 damage and they're taking 20 damage from Rocky Helmet. It's not a bad option to 1v1 one of your opponent's Oricorios at least. So the deck picked up that better than playing the Heatmore that does 30 damage. And it also does 30 damage for 1 if I didn't say that already. Other than that, nothing has really changed with the deck. You're not playing Serena, you're still playing May. I gotta, like, dude, May is better in, like, every single circumstance, especially, here's how to think about it. If you are playing a deck, if you really want Serena in your deck, if you are playing a Stage 2 Mega, and you're playing the Stage 1 Evolution piece in it, you don't play Serena, you still play May, because it being able to find that Combuskin is very, very valuable. That's what you want from it. You want the May to be more than just, go find my Mega. I can find my Torchic if I need another one. I can find my Combuskin. It is just more useful overall than Serena is. I like the card way more. Serena has really done nothing. It is in no deck, so don't consider it for this one. It is just, there's no point, man. It'd be better to run a second Copycat or a second May if you really wanted to make this slot for more consistency in the deck. But that's Mega Blaziken. Like, why would you play Mega Blaziken? Again, it's like high rolly. It doesn't have a bad Suicune matchup. It's not favored by any means, but it's not too bad. 45%. And into the rest of the meta, man. There's nothing that really, like, strictly counters the deck. It also does good into both of those grass decks I just showed you. But there's nothing that really, like, ruins its day to see. Mega Blaziken can beat a lot of things just by being way faster than them. If you start Torchic and you get that Mega Blaziken online ASAP, it's a really hard deck to deal with. So that's Mega Blaziken. If you want to give him a go, he's still a meta threat. Okay, if you play a lot of casuals, everything I say is probably going to seem ridiculous. But if you look at like tournaments and how this deck has been doing, everything I'm saying is 100% backed up by science. Mega Charizard Y, I would consider like a rogue deck, or like calling it a rogue deck is nice because before, up until recently, it was just a bad deck. Yes, you see it everywhere on casual. In tournaments, it always does so poorly. But we have a new skeleton for Mega Charizard that has been working out very, very well for players in tournament. Now, what is that skeleton? Well, instead of running copycats or anything like that, we're running double research, double May. Lets you just get the Charmeleons out so effectively, find the Charizard pieces. Now, there's a couple card variations you can go for. Really, the flex spot is where the second Mega Charizard Y is. I will tell you, I played a version with one Mega Charizard Y. With double May and, like, drawing cards from Entei, I never had a problem finding the guy. Ever. I always had the Charizard that I wanted when I wanted it. So you could take out the Mega Charizard Y, and there are two other cards to consider. A Lily to heal up, or an Indeedee, also to heal up. Pros and cons: Lily, it's your supporter for a turn. Indeedee, it could be it's just a fifth Pokemon that you can either start, or you can be needing a Charmander and your Pokeball finds you Indeedee instead of Charmander. Makes things work just a little bit, you know, less effectively. But the 20 damage heal every single turn is very, very nice in a lot of circumstances. So either play Lily or play the Indeedee. It is up to you. Test them both. See which one scams you more, and go with the other one. But this deck, okay, so this deck, now with the double May build, looking at its tournament data, which used to be horrible, in the last week, this thing has at least around a 50% matchup with the top 10 decks in the format. Some of them are even better. Decidueye EX, 84% win percentage. Venusaur EX, when I can find it, is also very, very good. It's not even listed on here. But Mega Venusaur is also like a very, very good matchup. It does well into the Mega Absol Greninja deck, and it does well into Mega Blaziken as well. But Suicune Greninja, 48% win percentage. This last week, this Mega Charizard deck has been doing very, very well. And if you want to play it, you need to be on the double May, double research build. It is the list that has finally been working out for people in tournaments. And I think that's enough to say that this is how you should be playing it. I've seen a lot of Mega Charizard lists that have never inspired me. This is the first one that I played and thought, you know what, man? This does seem like a real deck. Now, I will say, it doesn't feel the best still. The 50 damage to itself drawback for Mega Charizard Y is a lot. If you're going up against a 1-point deck, it's going to be really hard for Mega Charizard to take 3 knockouts and not get knocked out somewhere along the way. It's 150 damage done to itself. Even like against EXs, it can be somewhat hard to attack twice and not knock yourself out with Mega Charizard Y. But the deck is showing up to tournaments. It is performing very, very well. And it's like not even too much of a high roll deck, man. I guess the things that you're trying to high roll the most on are finding your flame patches. But the Charmeleons and the Charizards, like, you're getting them with your mace. No problem at all. So I'm happy to see that Charizard is finally doing something in the meta. It's very, very nice to see. And if you're a big Charizard fan, this is the way to go. Double May, double research. Cannot stress that enough. The lighting suddenly looks different. I just realized that I could move my lights up and also turn them down so I'm not as shiny now. And I'm very excited about it. Wow, that's awesome. All right, Magnezone Oricorio. Deck hasn't changed very much. It is still a very good budget deck for you to be playing if you don't have access to all of the cards in the world like a whale like myself does. Magnezone Oricorio. Not the strongest thing in the world anymore, and honestly, like, its Suicune matchup isn't even positive. It's 48%. It's not even favored. You would think that this deck, it's lightning, it would, but Suicune Greninja is now playing double baby Greninja. That was like last format when they were playing double Greninja EX. Oricorio could kind of farm a little bit. Now that they are on double baby Greninja, not so much the case anymore. This list was playing a 1-1 split of the Magnezones. The new one does 90 damage, and then your opponent has to flip a coin, and if tails, they just don't attack. It's a really brutal effect. It also has 150 HP, which is chill. Also got the Clement to be more consistent, and you can put Licia in, which is going to find you both of your new Magnemites. The Magnemite also blows through Chinglings because it does 30 damage. So this is Magnezone. Again, it's really not doing that well into the meta right now. Mega Altarias, it's not having a good time against the Indeedee version with like Chingling and all that. But against Mega Altaria Greninja, very, very positive matchup. Mega Blaziken is just slightly above 50%, so still not even the best. To be honest, I don't know what you're playing this deck for. It doesn't counter the top decks for the most part. It does well into like one of them, pretty bad into some of the others, and it does take some good matchups against some of the other counter decks. Like Decidueye and Mega Venusaur EX both have a bit of an issue against this deck. But I don't see really the reason to play it, because the only thing you're countering is like one specific Mega Altaria variant. And like I showed you when we went over Mega Altaria, there are a lot of Mega Altaria variants going on. So countering just one of like 5 of them isn't the best thing. But this is the deck. If you really want to play it, go ahead, but don't say I didn't warn you. So I'm going to talk about this deck because it was my favorite deck to play in last format's ranked, and it's fallen off a bit. Let me give you the reasons why. Suicune now plays one Frogadier for the most part. That really kills your game plan against them. Your game plan previously was go Chingling, 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 Chingling. Okay, I'm ready to get aggressive. I got my Greninja set up. I'm going to hit them with a Mars or a red card, and then I'm going to start swinging. If they're playing Frogadier, you're not bringing them back down to 3 cards in hand, and they have to find Rare Candy Greninja Cyrus off of that. You're putting them down to 3 cards in hand, and they might already have a Greninja set up, and it's just totally pointless for you. So that goes out the window. Another big thing is this deck really struggles against Altaria variants that are not playing Greninja, and there's a lot more of them in the meta than there was last time. Mega Altaria has come back in a big way. Not a good matchup for this deck. So the 2 biggest decks out there right now, you are struggling into. So I would advise against this deck. Again, it was my favorite, but I don't think, looking at the meta, that I would be comfortable playing this for ranked. I think this is a deck. I think every deck I've shown you is a deck that you can get to Master Ball with, for sure. But I think when looking to climb into high rank Master Ball, get to top 1,000, keep yourself there. I don't think this deck is one of them. I don't think Magnezone is one of them. I think both of them are just too poor into the decks that you're really gonna see a lot of at the very top of the meta. So this is like the last deck that I will show you that I would consider truly in the meta, and even then I'd say it's like a rogue deck, and that's Jolteon. Jolteon with the Jolteon EX and the beginning Bolt Jolteon. I played this deck on ladder, and it's really fun. It's a really fun. Little bit biased because I did end up pulling 2 rainbow rare Jolteon EXs, so my deck just looks like I'm swagged out, man. But the deck is a lot of fun. Baby Jolteon can steal some easy wins, honestly. If your opponent is only starting with 1 Pokemon with 60 HP or less, that Baby Jolteon could just clip it, end the game right there. Or Jolteon EX is going to put all the damage on your opponent's Pokemon when they attach energy. This deck is, you know, it's like a fringe deck. It does fairly well into Suicune from what I can see, but it is hard to distinguish because there are so many Jolteon variants out there. A lot of ways to play Jolteon. This is my favorite way to play it, but there's Oricorio versions, there's Zeraora versions, there is Magnezone versions. There's just a lot of ways to play this deck. So if you want to play a Lightning deck and you want to play Jolteon, man, you can get crazy with it, honestly. There's a lot of ways to do it. Against Suicune, Greninja, it says it's about a 60% win percentage. Again, it's going to depend on, like, what version you're playing. And to be honest, I haven't played enough Jolteon EX to tell you which one's going to do best in a Suicune. All right, I haven't spent all my time playing 3 different versions of Jolteon EX. I can just tell you this is the one I like the most. It's the most fun to play. And if you're playing Jolteon, to be honest, you're looking for fun. You're not looking for points maxing. You're looking for fun maxing. Pretty bad into Mega Altaria, unfortunately. It is what it is. You got to get kind of lucky against Mega Altaria because you sort of need to get that early Cyrus on them in order to start, like, putting down damage. And if they hit you with a Chingling, then your Jolteon's at 130 HP. You're also going to need to heal to not just get one shot by the Mega Altaria. And that's if they let you get to it. You know, they have ways around it. They can just not put energy onto the Altaria until they're feeling comfortable enough to do so. And to the rest of the meta, I mean, it takes a good matchup against Magnezone, takes a good matchup against Mega Charizard, Decidueye, Mega Venusaur, both good matchups for this deck because the Jolteon is just so aggressive. It can blast through those guys before they ever become a problem. But again, against Mega Altaria, against Mega Absol decks, it doesn't have the best time in the world. But it's really fast. It's fairly consistent when you're running double copycat. You can do the game plan that you want pretty often. Yeah, man, just a fun, fast deck. Like, it might be the quickest deck on this list. So if you're really just brain off, let me get some points. I love Jolteon. He has a really cool evolution. I think he's up there, man. I think, yeah, Jolteon was definitely the one I would usually go for in, like, my Leaf Green playthroughs, because I don't care about any of the, you know, real talk, all the Gen 1 Lightning Pokemon. Like, what do we got? We got Raichu. I'm not doing that because, like, I'm not a you know, that Pokemon's been force fed to me by Big Pikachu. I'm not putting a Pikachu on my team or his nasty brother. And, like, what other Lightning Pokemon are there? Electrode, Electabuzz, get out of here, bro. If I want an electric Pokemon, I'm using Jolteon. It's just the coolest Lightning Pokemon in that version. Now, if Magnezone was in it, that's a different conversation. Magnezone is awesome. Magneton, I'm not using Magneton either. So, like, Jolteon is kind of the coolest Lightning Pokemon from that generation. I was talking about the deck here at some point, and I might have had more thoughts to it, but they're all gone because I had to glaze Jolteon. All right. Fun deck, quick deck, not a bad pick. Now we're going to do the fun maxing session. Very quick. Not going to spend too much time on any of these. Dragonite. There's this one guy. I got to remember his name. I think it's J-Hove. All this guy plays is Dragonite to tournaments, and he's doing very well in a tournament right now with this Dragonite list. This is where he's at. If you're going to play Dragonite, like, I would trust this guy. I would trust J-Hove because it is, I'm not kidding, it is the only thing he plays to tournaments. I believe anytime I see J-Hove's name, it is next to Dragonite EX. So he knows what he's doing, man. He puts the reps in with Dragonite, and this is where he is currently. So if you want to go out and play a Dragonite list, trust J-Hove. J-Hove is the truth. This is the one to run. I don't know, man. I've always talked about how much I hate Dragonite, even though he kind of made my channel. He kind of made my Dragonite video was one of my first videos that popped off. It kind of made my channel, but me and him, we got beef, bro, because people just lie, dude, and trying to make him something he wasn't. He's always been a funny deck, not a good deck. And people would always try to say, he's broken now, he's broken. I swear, I promise. Do I have some videos that say Dragonite's broken in the title? Yes, but there were times, there was there was one point when it was a fine deck, okay? All right, I'm tangenting too much. That's how you know the video's been going on too long, is I'm exiting analytical mode and I'm just entering fun maxing mode. But we are in the fun maxing section. Mega Lopunny, I would also consider like a fun maxing deck. It was fine at the start of the format. I think just because there was a lot of Magnezones everywhere, not a lot of Suicunes. People were trying to figure out deck list, and this list could just kind of high roll, you know, leave your opponent confused, take a knockout by flipping 2 heads with Mega Lopunny. It could do things that were just disgusting and win you the game when you really had no business winning. This is the way that Mega Lopunny is typically played, with Lucario and Hitmontop. So if you got a fighting type itch, this might be the deck for you. But here's another one. Another fighting type deck that is doing well in a tournament right now. Garchomp Rampardos. You know, I made a video on this deck, I think, during the Mega Rising format. I believe it was during the Mega Rising format. And I thought the deck was pretty fine, man. Like, really no complaints with it. It's a high roll deck, 1000%, but if it gets up and going, man, it's just hard to deal. It's Rampardos and Garchomp, bro. You're doing 50 damage wherever you want. Rampardos is hitting for 130 damage. I don't really need to say much more, but this is a tournament-proven list for you right here, now including the Furfrou. I guess it's an answer to Chingling. If you need it, yeah, I don't know. It's in there. And then this deck. This deck is very, very cool because it plays the channel mascot, Pyukumuku. Oh my gosh. The first time he's actually in here for a reason that isn't just me trying to force something in, trying to make a video on Pyukumuku and then scrapping it. This Pyukumuku actually has a reason for being in the deck. Now, what is that reason? Well, this deck likes to search for its Pokemon using double Lesia. Find the Manaphy, find the Mantike, find the Magikarp. You really want one, like another bench, another basic water Pokemon for Gyarados' attack. Pyukumuku is like the best non-50 HP Pokemon. It has the most utility as a water type Pokemon. It doesn't have to retreat. It has a meaningful ability. Pyukumuku in the active spot. If it gets knocked out, your opponent's going to take 50 damage. It's meaningful, right? It has its reason to be in here. It is not just a useless card. There is actually a reason why we play it. But the Gyarados and the Suicune work so well together because you can go aggressive Suicune. Suicune takes a hit, retreat it into the Gyarados, discard it with the Gyarados, and now your opponent does not have Cyrus for 2 points at some point in the game. It's very strong. It does brick a little bit more than I would think something like this would. But you got to think, if you fire off one really big Gyarados attack, discard your whole bench, hit for 140 damage, you got to go find 3 more basic Pokemon to do it again back to back. And that's just not the easiest if you get hit with a Mars or even a red card. Or even if you get to keep your hand, man. It's hard to find 3 basics after discarding 3 of them. Not the easiest thing in the world, but it is a very, very fun deck. Guys, that is going to be the complete meta overview for Crimson Blaze. I wish you the best of luck getting to Master Ball. And hey, when you get to Master Ball, don't stop playing, man. Challenge. I want you guys to challenge yourself, man. If you're typically an unranked player, go for top 10,000. If you're top 10,000, go for top 5,000. I promise you, it is not as much about time in as picking the correct deck for the meta you are in, making sure that that list is good, and really knowing your matchups. It is not a game that is majority luck. There is some luck involved, but I promise you, any of you can do it without playing 1,000 games, all right? Just make sure that what you're playing is good and you really know how to play that deck. You got to pick a deck that makes sense, man. There's got to be a reason for it. All right, that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.